You're tuned into RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's RBLR Sports.
4 seconds left. In front. Happy moment. The Tampa Bay Lightning have won the first Stanley Cup. And the Tampa Bay Lightning have won the Stanley Cup. Lightning strikes twice. The Tampa Bay Lightning win their second straight Stanley Cup.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to RBLR Lightning. Man, I just can't wait. We got a tough episode for you guys today. The Lightning have officially been eliminated from the NHL playoffs. It's going to be a tough episode for us today, Matt. But, hey, we're here. We're going to talk about it. What went wrong? What went right? What's next for the Lightning? There is a lot of good news, though, because a lot of our players got nominated for a bunch of awards, so that's some awesome stuff. Also, if you're not watching the NHL Draft Lottery, as of this recording is live right now, please do yourself a favor and go check that out because it is comedy gold. We'll joke about that in a little bit of a minute. But first and foremost, Matt, how you doing?
Do you want the honest answer?
I do.
You know, I'm all right. It always sucks. I'm affected for the first week of it, but this is my signal. My summer has officially started. It's still tough. You said, we're gonna get into what went wrong. I think it'd be a little bit quicker of a show if we talked about what went right. But again, like you're saying, there's still a little bit of optimism in this show coming up. So, should we rip the Band-Aid off?
Let's rip the Band-Aid off. So for those who are just joining us for the first time, the way this will a little bit go for this one is we're not going to go and break down go through every single game because that's just too much pain since considering the Lightning only won one of those games. We're going to go through basically the whole series as a whole, kind of talk about each game if we want to, just kind of break down as a whole. And then also we have to do some good things to talk about. I want to hit on the players that were nominated for awards. We also have to talk about some of the, the exit interviews from players as well, including JBB. There was a lot going on with that. So there's a lot to get to. We welcome everybody joining us with us live. Hopefully this is a little therapy session for you and we can all feel a little bit better after the end of this episode. Don't forget to drop your comments down below in the comment section. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say. If you're here with us live, join the conversation. Ben, shout out to you. We appreciate you joining in. You always love watching us with us here. Comment here from Lisa too. I know I'm sad too. I'm right there with you. I'm actually more angry than sad, but we'll get into that in here in a little bit. Don't forget to follow us though on social media at RBLR Sports, at RBLR Lightning. If you do miss this one live, so you know when we do go live, and you can join the conversation. So Matt, Lightning versus Panthers, round one. This is the third straight year the Lightning have lost in the first round, the second in a row to the Florida Panthers, with the third being to the Toronto Maple Leafs. And for me, this one felt a lot like 2019. A lot of high expectations at the end of the regular season. Everything, now obviously they didn't have as good of a year as they did in 2019, but the team looked really good. They had that super high goal differential that we talked about so many times. It was better 5-on-5. There were improvements made to the team. And then, I don't know about you, Matt, but to me, it felt like there was just no effort in this. I thought there were maybe 2 periods in this entire series that the Lightning actually looked good, and that was it. I really don't think that they played well at all.
No, they didn't. I want to, come in here guns a-blazing. At least I would have, 5 days ago or whenever we got eliminated and, wanted to be the crybaby Bolts fan talking about, oh, the refs this, the refs that. But at the end of the day, I've coped a good bit and realized, we just were not the better team by any stretch other than one game. Like you're saying, Jake, 2 periods where you were far and away the better team. At best, past that, you were passable with the Panthers at their level. And for every other period, every other minute on the ice, they were having their way with us, man. You got outplayed, you got outmatched in pretty much every facet of this of the series, man. It is tough. It's not quite as 2019 shocking or jarring or anything, but as opposed to
It's
The year prior against the Panthers last year, he also lost in 5, but it's kind of like, wow, they were a good team. This is destiny. The Lightning were kind of limping in. They didn't have a great regular season. This year felt completely different. Like, it wasn't, again, a perfect regular season by any stretch, but every, stat was in our favor. Like, again, the goal differential was crazy. I was a lot more optimistic this year heading into the series against the Panthers. And I underestimated them. A whole bunch of people underestimated them, and I think at the end of the day, the entire Lightning team underestimated the power and the ferociousness of the Florida Panthers. And again, I'm still hurt. It sucks, but you got outmatched, man.
Yeah, let's get something out of the way here. Credit where credit is due. The Panthers played a great series. They played hard. They played way better than the Lightning. They deserve to win this series. There is no question about that. I don't want to take anything away from the Florida Panthers. We'll see how they fare in round 2 against the Toronto Maple Leafs. But
Let's go.
Credit where credit is due. The Panthers played a great series. Now, Matt, I'm glad you brought up the reffing situation because – that's normally sometimes our go-to. I know a lot of fans were frustrated too with some of the hits on Lightning players. We had the whole Brandon Hagel situation with his hit, and then he was suspended, and then you had a couple of hits for the Panthers. Those guys weren't suspended. Matt, do you know what the best way to make another team second guess themselves when trying to deliver those big hits? What's the best way to make them pay?
On the power play?
On the power play. And Matt, the Lightning were horrific with the power play in this series. They scored 2? I think it was 2.
Yeah.
In all their power play chances. It was bad. And the Lightning power play, now listen, we knew at the beginning of the season it's going to be an adjustment for them without Steven Stamkos, but it seemed like they found their way. They were able to make those adjustments, and everybody was playing extremely good. And then and I do give credit to the Panthers, but, man, to me it was so bad. I just can't put my head around why the power play just utterly fell apart. And listen, again, credit to the Panthers for being aggressive, and I think that was a big part of the Lightning. They like to move the puck around a lot. The Panthers were not giving them time and space, and it threw them off. Shoot the puck. Man, how many times did you yell at your TV like me, just shoot the puck? I mean, they weren't even getting shots on goal. There were no adjustments made. That was a big frustration for me in this series, the power play.
Yeah, I think one of the 5-minute majors, because we had 2 throughout the series, at least 2. I'm pretty sure one of them we registered 0 shots against. And
on a 5-minute power play.
Yes. Yeah, plain and simple, the power play did not show up. Even the one goal we got in, what was it, game 5? Like, it just wasn't a pretty or, your standard power play goal or anything. It was just abysmal by every stretch of the word. And a bad power play is momentum for the penalty killing team. The Lightning had plenty of power play time. They had, I think, through 5 games, they led the league in most time spent on the power play.
Game 4, they were up 2-1, got a 5-minute power play in the third period, and did not. That was your best chance to put that game away and end it right there.
Did nothing with it. And again, credit to the Panthers penalty kill. They did a really good job. They've got some really good defensive stallions on that team. Gustav Forsling is a really incredible defensive defenseman. I know he had that bad game 3. Sasha Barkov is always a force to be reckoned with. Sam Reinhart's a good defensive forward. Like, they've got a really good really good penalty kill, and they did a great job of targeting the quarterback of the power play, Nikita Kucherov. He had a quiet series. He was not good on the power play. He couldn't find Braden Point anywhere, and those two are dynamite when they're clicking, and they were both shut down pretty well. I think the loss of, and this is kind of a cop-out answer, but the loss of Bjorkstrand, it definitely, took a toll on the power play. He was starting to fit in really nicely in that bumper spot, and Braden Point over on the left wing or just kind of roaming wherever. But I thought towards the end of the season, before Bjorkstrand got hurt, things were starting to go really well on the power play, and that proved not to be the case. The Panthers did their homework like a good team should, and figured out what the weaknesses were and what the strengths were and how to isolate it. And again, I think that was probably the biggest killer of the series, was not being able to capitalize on the power play. Yes, you had those 5 minutes, but even just stupid, trippings or a high stick or whatever it is, if you can't do anything with that, you're not going to go anywhere. And these were concerns that we did bring up, in the playoff preview. And I was pretty, oh, it's no big deal because the power play was just a little towards the end of the season. I was like, it's no big deal. It's the playoffs, whatever. I did forget that the whistles do kind of fly in the first round, and then the deeper and deeper you go into the games and into the series, it gets a little bit tighter. And yeah, just that was the Achilles heel of this team, really, at least the most obvious one.
No question. Because again, you go back to game 4, the Lightning were only down 2-1 in the series. If they put that game away in game 4 on that 5-minute power play, and even just scoring one goal would have at least let that game tied. Yeah. And they did it. They had all the momentum on their side. They let the momentum slip right back into the Panthers' hands. I think I said to my brother at the time that, I had a feeling they were going to lose that game. I did not have confidence at all in this team, which says a lot because you just knew the momentum was changing. They weren't playing well. The Panthers were running all over them. You have to, and again, they didn't even generate chances. There were no chances on a 5-minute power play, which is, it's unacceptable, really. And I have a hard time figuring out the exact reason why, because we did see the power play success in the regular season. I think most of it does go credit to the Panthers that they did a good job. A couple of comments here that I want to get to as well. Comment here from Lisa saying they seem to be all over Nikita Kucherov the whole time. That was a big part of the Panthers' game plan, I think, was make those guys' life very annoying, just be all over them. And Kucherov showed his frustration in this series. He's a guy that can get frustrated very easily. By the way, man, I have a fun trivia question for you here.
Tell me.
Do you know how many goals Nikita Kucherov has scored in his 3 Art Ross seasons when it comes to the postseason?
A big old goose egg.
Zero. And again,
so you either get regular season Cooch or postseason Cooch, but you can't have both.
Listen, Kucherov is, for my money, the best player in the NHL, and he's very well deserving of winning the Art Ross Trophy and should probably win some more awards. But, and again, you can only give so much credit to a team for shutting him down. But at what point do you sit there and go, what happened with Kucherov? I don't think, if I remember from the injuries on the press conference, he was not one of them. I don't know what happened.
He had a hand injury, but I think he sustained it late in the series, like either game 4 or 5.
Okay. Yeah. So, where is Nikita Kucherov in these seasons? Clearly, it's been an issue for him. You'd have to ask him what happened, what went wrong. And again, I do think we saw with Lisa's comment there that a big part of that was the Panthers getting in his headspace and being right up in his grill. But that's another big issue is you need your star players to show up. Look at what the Dallas Stars did against the Colorado Avalanche in Game 7 there, right? And their against his former team scored 3 goals. Kucherov, nothing. And I know he had some assists, but you have to have your star players get going. And Kucherov just didn't have it again.
Even when they weren't all over him, though, he did not look like himself. Like, he looked very disengaged. And you see that from him from time to time. Like, he's one of those guys that, turns it on and turns it off. He's not wired like a McDavid or McKinnon that is just always on no matter what. He still is a top 3 player in the NHL at any given time. But it seemed like for the entire series, maybe apart from Game 3, he had it shut off. Even when they were not, targeting him or whatever it might be, completely shutting him down, he was kind of shutting himself down, it seemed. Like he was making errant passes, was not shooting the puck. There were a lot of issues. Another thing, too, that I noticed that I did kind of complain to some other friends about is the defensemen. I think we had the highest scoring or one of the highest scoring defense scores in the league, through goals and points, but nobody could hit the net from the point. Nobody. It was always bouncing off the backboards, going wide, whatever it might be. None of the defensemen could hit the net either. On the power play, even strength, whatever it might be. I know that's not like a huge gripe, but I think if you make Bobrovsky make a pad save from far out, it's harder to control a rebound. You might get some chaos in front. So that's another thing that I wasn't a big fan of, is just the lack there of shots. The shots they were taking were pretty good, but they didn't take a whole lot.
It goes back to the thing where the Lightning love to make that extra pass. And It's been a problem for them for a while. And especially when the Panthers are giving you trouble, not giving you that time and space, you have to make that adjustment to shoot the puck. And just get, like you said, get something on net, create some traffic. You never know what's going to happen. Get one to bounce your way. It's now when it comes to the defenseman, Hedman did have a broken foot?
Yeah.
He played through, which these injuries for these NHL guys is always just absolutely wild to me that when it comes out, every team has guys that have a laundry list of injuries that they play through. It's unbelievable. And we did talk about this, trade deadline time is that, the defense is maybe somewhere the Lightning should try and upgrade. I know they're up against the cap and, all that fun stuff, but they did not. And I think that bottom core of the defense is still a little weak. I think bringing back McDonough was great. I thought he was fine.
Yeah.
But they definitely need some more help on the bottom pairs when it comes to the defense.
Oh, yeah. If Nick Perbix is on this team next year, I'm going to be rather disappointed. I thought he had a terrible series. Lilleberg, not quite as bad, but bad. Chernak was actually pretty fine. I didn't really have any issues with him. I thought he had a good series. McDonough, he was out there for a couple, but I'll never vilify him. And Victor, yeah, I know he was dealing with the broken foot and all, but his defense is not the great. If you're not named, Victor, Ryan, or Eric, I want you off the team next year.
Let's talk about some of the hits in this series because they were a big topic of conversation.
Yeah.
Let's start with Brandon Hagel. He was the one who threw a big hit. It was in game two.
Yeah.
True, correct? Threw a big hit. There was an injury on the play. He was given a 5-minute penalty and was suspended for 1 game. And a comment here from Ethan who says, suspend Hagel. He's an awful human according to the NHL. So I did not see this hit initially because I was unfortunately at work at the time. I went back and watched it. I'm not going to lie, I laughed a little bit. It was a great, huge hit. Like everything about that is playoff hockey. One problem. It was extremely late. It's 100% interference, late, can't do that. And to be honest with you, Matt, I don't know how you feel about this. I'm curious. I'm okay with the suspension. I get it's playoff hockey. It's a late hit. It is. And I can understand why they want that suspension. That didn't bother me. Let me get your opinion on that first, on Hagel overall.
So I was waiting for this part of the show. Yes, it was a bad hit. It was at the most, in my opinion, a 5-minute major. I don't really think it even deserved that. But again, I'm wearing my blue tinted glasses here. As far as the actual hit itself, it was a good, clean hit. I don't know where Panthers fans or Lightning haters are seeing Hagel hit Sasha Barkov's head. That did not happen. He did not leave his feet. It was not a dirty hit itself.
The problem was just it was light.
The problem was, he didn't have possession of the puck. As far as the actual action of hitting, it was a clean hit. It was an interference penalty. It wasn't a hit to the head. It wasn't a charge or anything like that. It was interference, and that it definitely was. I don't think it was malicious. I don't think it was predatory at all. I just think that Hagel thought Barkov would have picked that puck back up and didn't realize I think McDonough had it in the corner or something like that.
He think Hagel touch it because that puck goes by, and he thought he was going to grab it and make a big hit. He didn't.
Exactly. So I don't think it was predatory or malicious at all. But at the end of the day, yes, that is a penalty. Again, I don't think it warranted anything over 5 minutes. I thought 5 minutes was a bit egregious. 2 minutes would have been fine in my book, but that might be my bias showing. A suspension, no. And playoff suspensions, the NHL is literally on record saying, for each 1 game in the playoffs, it's 2 games in the regular season. So is that a 2-game suspension in the regular season? Absolutely not. I think 5 minutes was perfect for it. Maybe even a bit much.
Well, listen, Paul Bissonnette agreed with us, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing when Paul Bissonnette is agreeing.
His takes are everywhere, so I don't know.
And this is why I stopped myself before. Here's my problem with it. And again, let me make something clear. I do not blame officiating or suspensions for the Lightning's loss in this postseason. The Lightning shot themselves in the foot. They are the reason they lost this series. They were bad. But if you're going to suspend Hagel for a game, why is Tkachuk not suspended for a game?
Yeah.
His was also a late hit, same thing as Hagel's. And I know the argument was made by some of, Gensel touched the puck and then gave it up. That does not matter. It's still extremely late. He didn't have the puck. And I think it was Brian Boyle said this actually on Twitter. Like, why are we punishing? Because Gensel stayed in the game. He was not hurt. And why are we punishing a guy for being tough and staying in the game? Like, that should not be the reason why you don't. So you spend Hagel, fine, whatever. Chuck needs to be suspended for that too.
Absolutely.
100%.
It's a
late hit.
That is the craziest thing. And the coping and the justification for the Kachuk hit, the justification for all of these hits that the Panthers have made from these Panthers fans is asinine. I cannot believe some of the arguments that I'm hearing for these guys. Again, my bias is really starting to show and come out, but I don't think so, actually. I think I'm trying to be pretty level-headed about this, but it's hard to be, of course. Yes, the Kachuk hit on Gensel to me was the exact same hit as Hagel on Barkov. I don't know. The only difference I see was Barkov didn't play the rest of the game, but he was fine for the next game. And I guess this year they're actually taking player injuries into account and not just the action, but also the result. Again, I think they were the same exact hit. And you could argue that the Kachuk hit no, you can't argue it. It objectively was malicious. It was targeting. It was predatory. He knew exactly what he was doing. Cirelli had the puck on his stick when running towards an open net when Kachuk decided to swoop around and hit Hagel. Like, it was completely and it's Matt Kachuk. Like, hate him or love him, you know what kind of player he is, and this is the kind of player he was up in Gensel's grill the entire series. But like, when you factor everything that transpired into, up until this hit, how is that not a one-game suspension? You know exactly what he's trying to do. It's the exact same hit he laid on Barkov, just in a different area. The puck possession thing. Don't admire your pass. Don't hit a guy 3 seconds after he gets rid of the puck. It is a late hit. Stop with the don't just stare at your pass. Dude, it's not the 80s anymore. It is 2025. Don't say, "Oh, keep your head up, kid." No, it was a bad hit. I don't think either should have been a suspension.
I agree. I agree with you.
If you're going to suspend Hagel, you should spend Kachuk. I don't even think he got a fine or anything from it, which, fines are stupid. But my God, like, how do you take yourself seriously when God?
No, but Matt, you're right. If one is suspension, the other is suspension, I do agree with you that I don't think either of them were suspension worthy. 5 minutes, sure. I don't think either of them were suspension worthy. And again, it's not why the Lightning lost. It's just frustrating to see the NHL constantly go through this, where it feels like they just keep spinning the wheel and trying
the wheel of discipline
and seeing where it lands and just going from there. Just like the hit on Hagel on the elbow that injured him and left him out of the next game. The Lightning did get a 5-minute major of that one and squandered that opportunity. We talked about that.
No,
already.
they didn't get a 5-minute for the Hagel hit, or the Ekblad hit on Hagel. Is that what you're talking about?
There were so many because these two teams just hate each other so much. But
that's the one that I have the biggest issue with.
I blocked a lot of these series out of my memory, so forgive me for misremembering a couple of stuff. But listen, bottom line is there were a lot of bad hits, and the officiating was back and forth on it.
No, hold on. I'm not letting you get to the bottom line because I think we have to talk about the Ekblad situation situation. Jake, this is a big deal in my opinion. Again, it might not have changed the outcome of the series, but it very well could have. But we live in an if world, and that didn't happen. But the Ekblad hit was retaliatory. It was a revenge hit. It was predatory. He elbowed him in the face or forearmed him in the face when, Hagel did have the puck, but it's still a forearm to the face. In the video that the NHL Department of Player Safety released, they explained everything why this is a one-game suspension. Cool. Why was he still in the game? Why did the refs not call a 5-minute major on the play that they were staring right at? And then if it wasn't a penalty, cool, you can get rid of it. That's why they amended this rule years ago. You can call a major penalty, review it, rescind it down to 2 or none, or keep it 5. Ekblad was the guy that ended up he actually had 2 goals this game. One was called back for offsides, but he ended up getting the game-tying goal. And then the NHL a day later said, actually, he's not going to play next game because of the hit that he laid before he scored that game-tying goal. How do you take yourself seriously as a league when you allow him to stay in that game, but you don't let him play the next game? He was the biggest contributing factor in that game, and you let him stay in after a terrible hit that concussed him. It concussed Brandon Hagel. I thought this league and many other leagues, the NFL as well, taking concussions very seriously, but you let him get away with this because why? I don't know. Those referees are screwed. They're not going to the next round. They made an egregious error, and their pay is going to feel it. Their reputation is going to feel it. Refs are based every round or graded every round, and they have not been qualified to play in the second or to officiate the second round because of how egregious of an error that was. It is a giant, crap situation, very heated. It was stupid. He should not have been in that game. That should have been a 5-minute penalty. It should have been a suspension as well. Instead, we only got the suspension. We lost the game because of that. It was the game-tying goal, and then Seth Jones scored 11 seconds later. You lost the game because of that.
Well, that's the wheel, Matt. The wheel says suspension and penalty, or just penalty, and they just need to figure out which one it's going to be. I agree with everything you're saying, and it's very frustrating. And I know it sounds worse coming from a team that just lost in the first round and got killed. But putting that aside from the result of the series, there's no question.
Jake, the wheel keeps spinning, though, and it keeps spinning in the Panthers' favor because after that Ekblad hit, I think it was the Nico Mikkola hit on Zemgus Girgensons. That was a 5-minute penalty. They actually called that.
Yes, that's the one, because you're right. The Hagel hit happened, and I was sitting there going, how is that not a 5-minute penalty? And then the Girgensons one happened. I was about to lose my mind again, but they did call a 5-minute power play in which the Lightning did nothing with. That was the one I was thinking about.
Yeah, and whatever. Woe is me. We did not score on the power play on that 5-minute again. How is that not a suspension? Nico Mikkola, he's their 6th defenseman at best. He's not that great, but that was another predatory, targeted hit to the head. It wasn't on Hagel, thank God. He was already out of the game at that point, out of the series at that point. But Nikita Kucherov got suspended a game for that in 2019. Do you remember that? Where it was Marcus Nudivar. His head was up against the boards, and Kucherov, lost his temper, as he does, as is tradition, and uses his butt to board his head into the boards. Nazem Kadri got suspended for that the same year or the year before or something. The NHL has suspended that hit in the playoffs. I think Kadri got multiple games for it. But Mikkola gets a $5,000 fine and a 5-minute penalty. Make it make sense, dude. The wheel of discipline keeps spinning, and it keeps landing in the Panthers' favor. I do have issues with the officiating. I know it might not change the end result. Again, you were the worst team. You could not capitalize on the opportunities given to you. But my God, if it were called fair, it would have been a less miserable outcome, in my opinion.
There's no question. And you're right. You're absolutely right. And I don't understand it. I wish I could give you an explanation as to why that happened, but I can't. That's just the unfortunate reality.
I can give you an explanation. I know you're trying to get to something, Jake, but when you have Greg Campbell, assistant GM of the Florida Panthers, whose dad is Colin Campbell, the executive vice president of the league or something, whatever his title is, he's like 3rd in the pecking order behind Gary Bettman and whoever the bald dude is. Thank you, Beverly. She knows. He is on record in court documents trying to fix the officiating in favor of his son's NHL team.
Is he really?
Yes. Yes. He's literally been caught and reprimanded before for trying to for telling the refs to not call so many penalties against his son or his son's team, or on his son or son's team. And then you have George Peros, the Department of Player Safety head, who is a Florida Panthers alumni as well. I'm not a tinfoil hat kind of guy. Maybe I am. But I mean, this I'm not going to say, we did an investigation or something, but you have, crooked executives, league executives that have been caught tampering with officiating before for his son. His son works for the Florida Panthers and is a very high up executive in that team. It's fishy, dude. It's fishy. That's why I'm so pissed off. That's why I'm still a bit in denial over this series, is because, my God, why couldn't it have been called fair? And I'm not the only one saying this. There's plenty of Lightning haters, a lot of Leafs fans that hate the Lightning, or whoever else we've, beat over the years, are saying this is ridiculous. People need to look into this. It happens every year. And I get the Panthers play hard. They play a bruising, brutal style of hockey, but they get away with so damn much because they have the people on their side. that make it happen. Sorry.
No, because you're justified. You are 100% justified. I think I'm not as animated about it because I just became more frustrated with the Lightning's play. And again, for me, the best way to stop that from happening in later rounds is beat the team. And I think the Lightning are a better team, and they could have very easily at least tied the series and made it competitive. But they didn't do that. So that's why I'm not as fresh. But you're 100% right, 100% justified. I didn't know all of that about the Panthers alumni and connections there into player safety. That is weird. And listen, I hope it's not true. I really do, because that's terrible. And there were definitely bad hits that should have been suspensions. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And again, it makes it look worse because we lost. People immediately jump to the conclusion, they just lost. They're mad about it. But no, you're 100% justified. Let's get to a more positive topic, Matt.
Please.
I think we need a little bit of positivity before I know we're frustrated. I'm frustrated too. It's been super annoying. But Matt, you know what makes me feel better when I'm down? It's heading to this shop to check out shop.rblrsports.com, and you can use code BOLTS to get 10% off your order. We got awesome merchandise out there for you guys. Team-inspired merch from the Lightning, Rays, Bucks, Rowdies, the Sun, all the great Tampa sports teams. So be sure to go check that out and pick up some merchandise while you are there. Another great thing. Oh, boy, look at it. Ethan was even ready for it. I love it. Yes, Ethan, you know it. There's some awesome stuff out there. Highly recommend you go check it out. Help us support us. We really do appreciate it. Look at this one. Where's the Matt jersey? We need a Matt jersey in there. Riga, you got to get on that. Also, another guy that was really good in this series, and we have to give credit where credit is due, is Jake Gensel. He was fantastic. He led the team in goals. He was great. He was great.
Yeah, no, he's a playoff performer. He's like, he's above Andre Palat level playoff performer. I think he's got the 6th or 7th highest goals per game in the playoffs ever, or something like that. Like, I remember watching him in 2017 with Pittsburgh. He was lethal in his rookie year and he was one of the biggest reasons he could have won the Conn Smythe that year if Sidney Crosby or Evgeny Malkin didn't exist. He was a huge reason the Penguins won the Cup, and every year, even though they haven't won a series after that, he's been their best player. He was Carolina's best player last year, and he was the Lightning's best player this year by a pretty wide margin. Led the team in goals, and even still had one kind of taken away from him. Braden Point ended up getting credit for one of the goals. But, dude, he showed up. He was good defensively. He was good offensively. He seemed like he was one of the very few guys on the team that actually cared. And so credit to Jake Gensel. And now that I'm thinking about it, it's actually so poetic because you know who our best player was last year in the 5-game series against the Panthers?
Who's that?
Steven Stamkos, the guy that Gensel replaced. So
yeah,
it is a bit poetic.
And the other part that makes it frustrating is, Gensel was so good. And then you look at our other star players and they were nowhere to be found. And you sit there and wonder, well, Gensel was able to do it. Why was nobody else able to do it? But credit to Gensel. He was great. Beverly says Gonzalez was really good too. Yes, absolutely. I was really impressed with him. I said multiple times throughout the year that he was going to be the kid that was that player that stepped up for the Lightning in the postseason and helped them go on to win. Unfortunately, didn't do that, but he was absolutely fantastic. I'm very excited to see what he can do with another year under his belt.
Gonzalez was great. He wasn't, perfect through 5 games. Nobody was. But in the games that he did decide to show up, I'd slot him in at the second best player for the Lightning throughout the entire series. Like, it was exactly what we saw from him, in the back half of the season. He's really maturing into a bona fide NHL player. I like where his trajectory is at, and I hope he can keep it up for next season. So he earned himself some extra money with this playoff series. So good on you, Beverly, for pointing that out. And everyone needs to respect Gage Gonzalez because he is an actual NHLer now. You too, Ethan. You need to respect him.
He's been good, and I'm excited to see what he can do next year. I think he's earned himself a permanent spot on the Lightning roster.
Another kid who I thought did really well too. It wasn't every game either, but Connor Geekie. I can't remember which game it was. It might have been game 5 even. or game 4, whichever one.
I think it was game 4.
He was flying, bro. He actually he was laying the body. He was making good plays. He had a couple good plays with Gonsalves whenever, his coming out game was. I thought Geeky and Gonsalves looked really good together, and Geeky has showed that he is capable of playing at a high level as well, and capable of earning a roster spot, a permanent spot for next year. I really liked what I saw out of Connor Geeky as well.
I do think for Geeky, there's some more things that he's got to work on, be a little more consistent. But yes, he had a couple of nice moments there, which was good to see, especially when the stars were nowhere to be found. Speaking of stars, let's talk about Andre Vasilevsky, Matt, because, I have a weird hate-love relationship with the takes on Vasilevsky for this, because part of me does want to sit here and say, and listen, Vasilevsky, who is the best goaltender in the NHL, no question about that one. And he didn't have his best postseason performance. There were a couple of times where you just left wondering what happened on that one, Vassy. But also, the Lightning did not play good, and they left Vasilevsky out to dry so many times. It's tough. Like, I'm kind of in this middle ground of, yes, Vasilevsky was not good in this series, but also he was left out to dry, and he can't do everything 24/7.
Yeah, it wasn't his worst playoff outing by any stretch, but he wasn't good per se. Like, it wasn't bad, he wasn't good. He was aggressively average, but he had no help at all. The Panthers just, again, did their research, knew how or where to score on him, whatever it might be. It wasn't as egregious as the Leaf series a couple of years ago, where he just couldn't stop a beach ball. Like, he was pretty bad. But he did not help in many cases. He was really good in game 2. He was really good in game 3. But every other game outside of that, he was either mediocre or bad even. Again, the defense was not helping him hardly at all. The Panthers' attack, especially on the rush, is very good. There was a lot of chaotic goals that he really couldn't stop. But yeah, he was just, I don't know. I'd have him ranked, 9th most important player out of, the 20 that played.
Yeah, and he's still a goaltender I would bet on to help my team win a series in a game 7. There's no question about that. But there were just so many guys that did not play their best games at times, or were not up to what we saw in the regular season, Vasilevsky included, even when he was left out to dry multiple times by our defensive play. It just wasn't good stuff from the Lightning all around. There really wasn't any positives from this series, which is what made it so frustrating. That the Lightning are very capable of being the Florida Panthers. Again, I give them credit, but the Lightning are a better team, and they just didn't show it at all. And throw the word around of not caring, because I know these guys care. I know they do, but it really felt that way. That, like, even when their season's on the line in game 5, and they had the lead at times, but the Panthers always just pushing back, had the momentum, felt like they wanted it more. Where's that disconnect?
I wish I knew, man. Hey, you know who Vasilevsky was better than? Connor Hellebuck. He was pretty bad in the first round. He's playing in second round hockey, so good for him. But it affects even the best goalies in the world, man. You cannot be perfect all the time. At least Vasilevsky had a much better regular season this year. But yeah, just
I thought you were going to say Igor Shesterkin.
Well, yeah, he Igor didn't save a single puck this postseason.
All right, jokes aside, we do have some awards that we got to get to, because a lot of guys were nominated for awards. And I know the awards can be frustrating because it's like, well, there's only one that really matters, which is the Stanley Cup. And I agree with you. But players should be recognized for their great regular seasons that they've had, and there's a lot of them for the Lightning. Vasilevsky is nominated for another Vezina trophy. I don't think he is going to win that one. I think he'll because it's also important to remember here, this is a regular season award, and because if it was up to the playoffs, none of our guys would be winning anything. We're not good. Well, regular season, but Vasilevsky did get nominated for a Vezina, so congratulations to him there. Braden Point was nominated for the Lady Byng Trophy, which, I think we've said a couple of times, like, he should be nominated for that award. And this is one of the first times he has been nominated. So that's cool. Although, didn't he get into a fight like right at the end of the regular season?
He did.
Well, that threw away his Lady Bing chances.
No, I think you might have missed it. I can't remember, but a couple months ago we were talking about this, and I was like, yeah, Braden Point, he's only got like one tripping penalty or a high stick or something. And, the elite level that he plays at, I think he's got a real good shot. He's never a motor mouth. He always plays, pretty respectful. And then he gets into the fight, and I'm like, yeah, same thing. That might have hurt his chances. So still cool to be nominated for, it's not a, an S tier award or anything, but, a nomination is always pretty cool no matter what the award is. And I think he's got a solid chance to win it too, but Kopitar is hard to beat. I love Andrzej Kopitar. He's a gentleman. One
great player in Lightning history that won the Lady Bing Trophy a lot was Marty St. Louis. So that's not bad company to be with. Selke Trophy. This is a big one for me, Matt. Anthony Cirelli was nominated. What you've been saying for so long that he deserves. Yeah, round of applause for Cirelli. He deserves to be on this list. Again, will he win it? Probably not. Maybe. You never know. I don't know if he'll win it. The two other nominations, by the way, are both Florida Panthers players, so I would really love for him to win this one, just to win something over them. It's Sam Reinhart and Barkov. But I'm glad he is at least getting recognition now and is on the list. I think he's a very talented player, and he can become even better the way he's been improving every year. And I'm very glad to see him on this list.
I am pretty shocked with the nominees. I don't think Barkov should be on the list. I don't think he had a great season as a defensive forward. He missed a good bit of time as well. And I'm pretty sure Sam Reinhart is a winger as well. They're not, keen to nominate wingers for whatever reason. The center position is very coveted in the defense category. I think Anthony Cirelli, in my opinion, I'm biased, should win it. I think he had the best defensive stats of them all. I think faceoffs, he led both of them, at least in total, maybe not percentage. He had the best plus minus of the three by a pretty wide margin. And but I think he had the most shorthanded points of them as well. So if that doesn't tell you how good of a defensive forward he is, I don't know what will. But it's still cool that he finally got nominated. We've been saying this for like 6 years now, ever since he's come into the league. It's like, dude, he'll at least get a nomination for a Selke someday. So I'm glad it could be him. I'm shocked Brandon Hagel didn't get a nod. I'd love to see what the voting looks like. Again, he's a winger, so it's kind of hard to for the voters to nominate him for that. But I thought he'd honestly be my pick over Cirelli. But Cirelli, good on you for being nominated, man. I'm glad you're finally getting noticed.
Absolutely, and hopefully next year he gets nominated again and has a really good chance at winning it. Maybe he'll win it this year, but even the next year that can continue here. Last two awards: Nikita Kucherov, of course, nominated for the Ted Lindsay Award and the Hart Trophy Award, as he won the Art Ross Trophy. So of course you're going to be up there. How good of a player Nikita Kucherov is. Again, regular season award. If you include the playoffs, you can forget it. But it's a regular season award. Listen, are we going to do this dance again? Yes, of course he deserves one. Is he going to get one? I highly doubt it. That's just the way these things kind of go with the NHL. We'll talk about that more as we get closer to the award show, though.
Yeah. I don't know. The last time the Lightning had this many nominations for the awards was 2019, and we all remember what happened the year after that. So.
Yeah, we do. Is this our 2019 part 2? It does feel like that. Great regular season, extremely disappointing postseason where the Lightning just looked like they did not show up at all. And boy, like we should say this too, Matt. I'm very glad this show happened. Like I don't even know how many days removed from being out of
enough
the point, but. If this would have happened sooner, this would have been the show would have gone off the rails a long time ago.
Yeah.
It was very, very frustrating loss for the Lightning in this round because again they just didn't show up. All right, last thing, let's talk about some of the exit interviews that we got from some of these players, and I want to kind of start with some of the stuff from JBB, Matt, because I thought his stuff was interesting in the sense of he really hit on the idea of it's very hard to win a Stanley Cup. Only one team gets to Matt, I'm right there. I saw you roll your eyes. I was going to agree with you on this because he was really hitting on that. It's really hard to do. We got a great team. And for the most part, I agree with that. But that's not the problem, Julian. The problem was this team didn't even make it into the second round. They were bounced out in the first round uncompetitively. This was not a St. Louis Blues situation, which, by the way, Blues fans, I feel so bad. That's a pill to swallow. It was a great game, though. But anyway, we're not sitting here saying, the Lightning, they got to the third round and they played really hard. Yeah, it's a tough thing to do. It's hard to win only one team gets to raise the cup. No, they didn't even make it out of the first round. This team was bad, and he kind of sidestepped the questions, I feel like, and didn't address the elephant in the room. That the team was abysmal in the first round.
So I didn't get to watch any of the interviews, I didn't watch any of the interviews.
I didn't watch him either because I was still angry at the
time. That's unfortunate that he, is kind of dodging the questions, but that's how, Julian and John Cooper are both wired. Both those lawyer types. They'll never give you a straight answer. So I don't know what really needs to be said. Like, I don't know what the questions were asked. What he was dodging, but
it's not even much that he was dodging, but it's just that the immediate of, only one team gets to win the cup. It's like that's
ambiguous.
Yeah. Right, exactly. It's typical things that GMs say, but you can't say that after how bad that first round was, because that was not. I would agree with him and be okay with him saying that if the team made it into the at least late second round, but they didn't. They got bounced in 5 games.
Yeah, no.
That's where that frustration comes in for me. There are a lot of players in these exit interviews. I highly recommend you go check out, people like Gabby Shirley on Twitter if you want to go through all of the players' quotes. We're not going to get to all of them. I do want to talk about Jake Gensel. He talked about how much he's loved it here in Tampa, and he's really enjoyed it, which is always great to see. Already have him locked up long-term, which is fantastic. So, shout out for Jake Gensel there. That was fantastic. Let's talk about John Cooper, Matt, because there were a lot of rumors floating around out there for some reason that John Cooper was going to be leaving the Tampa Bay Lightning and going to the Utah Hockey Club. Where those rumors came from, I have no idea. Long story short, John Cooper basically said, if there's a better franchise run than the Tampa Bay Lightning, I would love to see it. He loves it here. He doesn't see himself leaving. JBB said also, I expect John Cooper to be our coach for a long, long time. There is no indication at all that John Cooper is going anywhere. And why would he?
Never take anything Larry Brooks says seriously, man. He's like the OG clickbait dude for hockey. He just loves to stir the pot. John Cooper is friends with a lot of folks. He is the coolest dude in hockey, bar none. Like, I know we love Cooper, but there's so many other fans that just hate the Lightning but love John Cooper. He's friends with Charles Barkley. Why isn't he coaching an NBA team like that? I don't know. That's such a weird thing to put out there in an article. I think next year's the last year of his deal, but I would be completely fine. Huh?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay. I would be completely fine if he gets an extension. I would love it. Actually, I don't think Cooper's ever part of the problem. I think he deploys his weapons pretty well. I think he's a fantastic coach. Maybe some of the guys around him I might have a bit of an issue with, but Cooper, just like Ryan McDonough, I will never, ever, ever scapegoat him. Again, just the coolest dude on earth. What a silly thing, and what a great way to commend the team that you coach for and the organization as well. He is right. He's not even just gassing the Lightning team up. Name a better ran organization, at least the off ice product.
Here's the quote, by the way, from JBB. We are not planning any changes. So right there and there, and then he says Coop will be back. Coop will be back, and he listed off a couple of reasons and said. Could be back next year, and I expect beyond. So there's no doubt about it for Cooper returning to the Lightning. And again, I'd be shocked if he left. So we can put those rumors to bed.
Well, is there any other pieces of the exit interviews you want to talk about? Because there is one thing that I did remember Breezeball was saying.
I have a feeling I know where you're going with this. Is it related to a young prospect the Lightning have not yet signed?
It very well may be.
Well, there was a lot of stuff in the exit interviews. One thing we could say too, because it's always entertaining, Kucherov, he actually had a lot of words this time around, which was kind of surprising. He said he's taken 6 days off to get right back to it. It's always entertaining.
Quick Cabo trip and back on the ice.
I'm sure players will be right there with them. And I love that from Kucherov, because listen, I know he knows that he had another bad postseason, and he's not thrilled about that either. So how much better can Kucherov get? Who knows? But if guys keep working with him and he keeps doing what he does, the sky's the limit for those guys. So that was cool. But yes, Matt, let's talk about Isaac Howard. So JBB essentially said, listen, he's had great conversations with Isaac Howard. He respects Isaac Howard, yada, 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 but they do not expect to sign him. They said there's either two ways this goes, that A, he will become a free agent when his contract officially is up, or well, not contract, but his rights will be up, or B, he will be traded before then. So Isaac Howard will not be a Bull is basically what the takeaway is from JBB. What went wrong? I don't know. He says they had good conversations, but at this point, you just hope that they trade him and get something for value in return.
I think what really pissed Isaac Howard off was that interview he did with you and Mike, man. Like,
blame us. Yeah, okay.
You're gonna send this franchise into the dark ages, Jake. No. Again, I'm gonna try not to hate on a 19-year-old kid, but at the same time, it is a little bit of a diva move. I wish JBB didn't say that, because that just tanked your leverage a good bit. Like, people, every GM knew that it was kind of on the rocks, but you just kind of admitted we are not going to sign him. So I don't know what team's going to be offering you a worthwhile package for a trade to get him, and they might, he might not even sign with the team that trades for him. That happened to Carolina and Calgary. Like, it's never usually a good situation. So I wish he would have just been a little bit more coy on that situation, and then just maybe get a deal done, quietly in the offseason or something. Because I don't know if you're
taking the first round, but he wasn't coy about this.
Yeah, unless you're just a really desperate GM. Like, if I were, a pretty, middle of the pack GM, I would just wait till his rights expire and maybe try and offer him something instead of trading, assets away when I can get him the next year for free, in my opinion.
Eureka, our producer, brought up a good point that I forgot to mention. If Howard does leave and we do not trade him, the Lightning would get a compensatory, I can't English. They would get a draft pick back for him, essentially. So I believe it is a second,
yeah.
Which, isn't as great, obviously, in the first, although the Lightning are pretty darn good drafting in the second round. So, but yes, they would get a pick for him. So even if he does leave and they can't trade him, not all is technically lost. Obviously, this is not the result people wanted. Of course, we wanted to see Isaac Howard as a Bull. But I'm with you, Matt. Listen, he's 19. Will he regret this decision later? I don't know. But, I kind of side with the Lightning on this one.
I do.
If he didn't want to be here, fine. This is a great organization to be in. Every player has said it before. You'd be playing with such great players and learning from great people. I don't know why you wouldn't want to sign with this team. I really don't. It's beyond my bias aside. I want to play for him. Sign me.
Yeah. I'm the guy that, I would play for the Anaheim Ducks. I'd play for the Blackhawks or the Sharks. I don't care, man. It's such a privilege to be in the league, but I'm never going to be in that position. I don't understand what the Lightning team or personnel or organization did to make him not want to sign here. But to me, as if I was an unbiased guy, I'm like, oh, awesome. That is an awesome team to be drafted by. You'll get every opportunity if you prove that you can play, which he has, at least at a collegiate level. I just don't know where the disconnect is, why he's so offended. I don't know where he's from. I don't know if he just hates the Lightning, but the most recent example I can think of is Adam Fox with Carolina. I think they drafted him and he said, I'm not going to play for you guys. Trade me. So they traded him to Calgary, and he said, I'm not going to play for you guys. Trade me. I'm only going to play for the Rangers. And he forced their hand. And I don't know. Adam Fox is a really good player, but to me, I don't like him because of that. And also because he's a Ranger. But I don't know. I think it's such a diva thing to do. You earn UFA rights when you can be an unrestricted free agent. So,
yeah, here maybe a big ego. It's not exactly a Jonathan Drouin situation, but it's also kind of similar in that sense. And listen, I wish the kid the best, but just unfortunately didn't work out for the Lightning. And hopefully they will be able to get something for him. I think they can trade him. even though JVB kind of spilled the beans. I think they can trade him. I think they'll get something for him. What that'll be, I don't know. But
package him with Lilleberg and Perbix for somebody. Anything, man.
Well, Ben says give Perbix the Norris.
Oh, God.
It'll be an interesting offseason. There'll be a lot that's going to be happening around the league. We'll be here to cover it all, of course, too. So don't forget to follow us at RBL Lightning, at RBLR Sports. And ring that bell for notifications, all of that fun stuff. Matt, let's end it with this. Who are you now rooting for in the postseason to win the Stanley Cup?
Easy answer. I'm a Caniac, baby. Let's go Canes.
I'm going to my two. I think I want Dallas to win it. I've enjoyed watching them. They've been a fun team. But Dallas or the Hurricanes are my two top contenders. As for who I'm rooting for in the Leafs and Panthers series, the answer is a Meteor. So
no, it's pretty clear cut and dry to me, man. Anyone but the Leafs, dude. Or anyone but the Panthers. Sorry, I'm go Leafs.
I was about to say, wait a minute.
Leafs in 4, man. The Panthers, I know I was pretty, putting myself together pretty good. Yeah, Ben, let's go.
That says Gaines. Lisa says Dallas.
Man, I'm cheering hard as hell for the Leafs for this series, and then if they win, screw y'all, get out of here.
I'm rooting for the West. That's just the bottom line.
Yeah. Now that the Avs are out too, as long as it's not the Panthers, I'm fine.
Everybody says Dallas the Jet. Listen, we joke about Canada all the time and them not being able to win it. I wouldn't hate to see the Jets win it. I think their fan base deserves it.
That would be so funny too. The newest Canadian team, the smallest fan base Canadian team, and they bring the cup back to Canada. I think that would be hilarious. That would be just cinema.
Well, Matt, the season is officially over, as disappointing as it was, but it's done. We move on and now look towards the offseason, hopefully for a better result. Listen, it is what it is. History's in the past. There's nothing we can do about it. It's tough, but that's playoff hockey, and that's why we love it so much, because you really never know what you're going to get, even when you think you have a very good hockey team and a great regular season. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hopefully this maybe made you feel a little bit better. You got some of your anger out. I know I did. But yeah. That said, Matt, I hope you did. You were really angry and fired up there. Surprisingly more than I thought I was going to be. But with that said, hope you guys did enjoy this episode. Like and subscribe. Ring that bell for notifications so you don't miss out on any of the awesome off-season content that we have planned for you guys. And with that said, we'll talk to you in the next one. Go Bolts.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.